we have two amazing guests. Like in this time of COVID, everybody knows that we Zoom has basically taken over the world. Like, can we all agree that
Oh yeah.
Zoom has taken over everything? And as a result of Zoom taking over everything, we have seen unparalleled expansion in the space of streaming entertainment. And it was an election year, so then you saw something else very special happen. You saw an opportunity for the electorate and those who produce and plan to become really, really involved and engaged. And amongst some of the engagement that we saw, the unprecedented engagement that we saw, and we had a chance, I think it's amazing how we made the adjustment. And I think that's what I really want to get at. And these two guests speak to that. And that's why I'm so excited to have them on. So first we have Yolanda D. Hunt. I just want to talk about Yolanda for just a second, because Yolanda is someone that I've known, and it is nice when you feel like, not even feel like, when you know you have friends in high places. And let me see, we're going to try to, we don't want to take all day because she's got credits and all that. So Yolanda currently is a casting consultant and is making her mark at BET Networks. Has worked in managerial positions at BBC Productions and USA BBC Worldwide. But she's on to her roots, again, a casting consultant. But let's just talk about this California native for just a second. She began her career in casting with director John Singleton on the music video classic. You guys get this? Remember the time? We all know. Everybody remembers the video with Magic Johnson.
Remember the time.
So she in her career after that, but soon under the direction and mentor casting guru, who hopefully will get to the broadcast one day as well, Robbie Reed, landed the title of casting assistant on the classic movie Poetic Justice. And I don't have to go through the cast. And so then she became best known as casting some of the greatest stuff we've ever wonderfully seen and projects with the Wayans brothers, Malcolm Lee. Like, because I say this personally, I was working on a floor above her when the first Best Man was cast. So Best Man, Crooklyn, Kingdom, Turn It Up, Light It Up, the PJs. Just, we could go on. And then she moved on and national commercials as well for Coca-Cola, Sprite. And then in her current capacity, we have her on tonight because there were these amazing events put on by her and this amazing team to further engage voters and the electorate of color in the census process and preparing to vote. And we saw these amazing episodes, the Zoom Where It Happens, with seeing from Golden Girls to Friends, with African-American cast and with stars that we love, but all on the platform of getting folks involved and informed. And I think that she demonstrated that you can take all of your superpowers and hers, which is an eye for talent, and turn it into something extraordinarily special. And as we know by the outcome of the election, that changes the world. We also have, that we'll be bringing to the stage, now I sound like the comic MC, Lindsey Loon, who is building this amazing comedian who just saw an opportunity as a Biden-Harris volunteer to say, what can I do to make a difference? And like Yolanda, culled together all the skills that she has for bringing people together, for being funny herself, being an actress and just a producer, and said, we're going to put on a show. And when she reached out to me, I thought we were going to do one show. I believe we did 8 or 9 shows. I don't even know. Like, we became a weekly series. And we're bringing to the stage Lindsey Loon and Yolanda Hunt, two people who helped change the outcomes of this year's 2020. I feel like I'm about to cry. Like, I'm talking about y'all, and I'm excited because we have
Welcome.
amazing. And as everyone can see, we have 2 women who helmed and worked with and coordinated with and collaborated, amazing team members to bring us events and just media that makes a difference. So both of you look fantastic. That's first. Kisses, Yolanda, I feel like I just can't wait to be in your presence. It's been so long since I've seen you in the natural. And one of the things I want to say, and I'm going to stop, it's 8:30, so it's time for me to stop. Lindsey is an example of what Zoom can do, because this is a fellow comic whom I met in the Zoom space. We'd never met in person until finally one day we did. And my life has been forever changed and impacted by a relationship that just began, like we are all talking here. So I want to welcome Yolanda Hunt and Lindsey Loon. Welcome,
Yes,
ladies. The
welcome.
therapy
Thank
of the
you.
attorney. Woo!
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I'm going to start with Yolanda, and you guys are gonna talk about your processes. So Yolanda, how did you become involved with the Zooms where it happened? Like, tell us about that.
It really literally, I got a call late one night from Regina King, and she said, Yolanda, I'm doing this project, and well, I have some friends that are doing this project, and I know that you do casting and you can pull it together, and it's all women crew, and we're gonna, you can make this happen. I was like, absolutely, no brainer. She was like, it's leading up to the elections, and we want to, we want to be able to get out there and just do our part. So this is what we want to do. And so, a lot of actors and they all came together and they decided to make this happen. And when I got on my first Zoom call, I realized that I was working with the likes of Stephanie Lane and Ava DuVernay, and we were all on this Zoom call. And I was like, okay, didn't you left out those details, but I love it. Great, let's go. And I can say that the political aspect of it, Karen Richardson really was the driving force behind that. She's the one who got all of the organizations that we were, promoting each show that we did. She got all the literature there. She got us, getting out there and calling those states, Michigan and all of Georgia, like the day of, the day before the election. She's the one who really was like the driving force behind getting that literature and that knowledge out. And it was just kind of a no-brainer for them to do this. It was just really a no-brainer.
Before I go to Lindsey, because I have the very same question, did you have any idea? You guys basically, with that very first episode, the Golden Girls, like, this is, I don't want to, well, I'm not going to say I don't want to, I'm going to say this, I sound country. Y'all broke the internet. Like, I got on, but everybody was everywhere chatting, like, I can't get in. What's the link? Did you get in? Like, everybody was bitter. Did you have any idea that something like that would call together those types of numbers for people to watch? Yolanda, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to Lindsey. My bad. Can you repeat that?
Sorry. So I was saying I would go to Lindsey with the same question, but like, you guys basically had a sold out crowd for the very, very first one. Like, and I was just saying that everybody was pretty upset because people couldn't get in to see.
Yeah, we were overwhelmed because I guess, Zoom only has the capacity for 50,000 people to join. That is their cap. So we had over 250,000 registrations on that first show. So then that's when they decided to have the rollover. So then the rollover went to, they had different platforms, which was YouTube.
Right.
Yeah. So that
but
was
like in your mind, like when you guys were doing everything, did you have a concept for the fact that more than 50,000 people would even come?
You know what? I think that we were definitely we were overwhelmed with the response. We didn't think, because we literally didn't promote it until that Sunday is when our first rollout came out. So we only had Sunday and Monday, and then we went live on Tuesday. So we didn't think that the rollout, we were like, okay, well, the first, round, people will hear about it and then they'll want to join in for the second round. And the numbers like hit the ceiling on the first round. So we were just like, okay, we're on to something here.
Wow. Amen. Now, Lindsey,
go back to the drawing board. Let's get some really good content and some great actors, and let's really just go hard.
All right, we're going to come back to that because you're saying great actors when you had the heavy hitters from front to back, but that first one, like, we played the game. Let me talk to Lindsey. Lindsey, so you're sitting somewhere like Yolanda. I don't know that you got a magical, amazing call, but you had a call in your mind. Tell us about the idea of conceiving a comedy show for Biden Harris.
Well, I mean, it's basically the same story. Regina King also called me. I wish that was the story. It was funny. I joined as a volunteer expecting to do calls and text bank and write postcards. And when I found out that hosting events was possible, I was like, oh my God, I can actually do this. because I run an international film festival in a few locations, and the idea of getting together an event pretty quickly and entertaining people was just something that I knew I could do, and it was amazing to be able to do that and to find a team within the Biden supporters. Like Dana Keel was very, very helpful. And Tom Mayer and Lisa Cassandra, and just having a core group of people who wanted like us to keep it going really, really helped.
And then I'm going to ask you this question, then I'm going to toss this one back to Yolanda. So to you, Lindsey, did you anticipate, because I'm trying to remember from the beginning, I think you anticipated maybe 1 or 2 shows. I remember when we were working on the first flyer, you said you'd do the next one. Did you anticipate, or did you think that you were going to have shows all the way up to the election every Sunday?
I honestly thought that we'd have one, or maybe one at the beginning and one at the end. I did not anticipate having it every week. It was a surprise to me as well.
Did you find that people were that it came from people's response of saying, can we see more of this?
Yeah, I hate saying no to people, especially when it comes to something like sharing a community event. And, you know, I thought I'll do this until I can't do this. And I managed to do it. So yeah, it was challenging, but it was really enjoyable. And each week we had different performers, and we had a core group of performers, but then we constantly had new people, and that also kept it challenging, but kept it fresh. It kept me I wanted to know who was going to perform next.
Right, producer. So when Regina King came to you, Yolanda, did you guys have a vision for several events? Because you guys didn't do them every week. You did them like every other week, if my memory serves.
We did every other week, and then after we did the split for those 2 weeks, we went back. We went 4 shows back to back to back.
Got it. So you guys didn't necessarily start out intending to do a bunch of shows?
Well, actually, the to my knowledge, there was already they had the amount of already in place.
Oh, okay, got it.
So I was told how many shows I needed to have cast.
Got it. And then what is the casting process like that? Had you casted any Zoom things or Zoom events or Zoom shows before?
This is my very first one.
Wow.
So this was like diving in head first. It was an amazing experience because everything was done so remotely. Everyone got to do, all of their scenes they got to do in their home. Mm-hmm. So everything was all, COVID. We were very COVID safe on it. So, and that was, I think, the lure is because no one had to be with anyone. So everyone was just like, oh, heck yeah. Even though, and the time we started doing and the more we started getting into the later shows, all of our shows started going back up like Blackish and other shows started, going into pre-production because they were getting the green lights. So everyone that was saying yes in early September were like, I'm gonna let me check my schedule. So it was just like, oh, I got, I had them in the arsenal. So it was okay.
It was okay. Right. Because on the very first one, you had Tracy Ellis Ross on that very first one. Yep. I was trying to explain it all to somebody the other day and I couldn't even remember, but I just remembered Tracy. I remembered Lena Waithe. I remembered Sanaa. I remember Alfred Woodard, of course. I remember
Regina,
of course. Because I remember, who was that? I want to say Regina sneezed, and I think
Williams was
Jesse Williams. But Regina sneezed, and I was like, Tracy, I think somebody said you get an Oscar for that sneeze right there. So I don't know.
Yes. And they just threw that in there. The great thing about that is that even though we had, our run through and our rehearsal and our stumbles on that, it was live.
Right.
So if it was a blooper and they ran with it, and if you didn't know that, there was a blooper because they just,
they just kept going.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I have to say, doing the casting for that project was a lot of fun. A lot of personal phone calls of picking up the phone and let's make a deal. Yeah.
It translated for us. Now, I know you definitely were involved on the more on the casting side than anything, but I want to talk to both of you about, to whatever extent you can share. And Lindsey, I'll pop back to you. The challenges of being live. And I know you can speak to this, Yolanda, even if it's, just that. So, but to you, Lindsey, being live, what are the extra layers of intensity that adds to a production?
Well, I love comics. I am a comic, but sometimes trying to coordinate comics is like herding cats. And even on the day, there were special requests and stuff being made. So as I was trying to take care of the audience, I was also tending to the comics. The musicians were surprisingly low maintenance, actually. We should learn from them. But yeah, dealing with people's needs kind of at the moment. And also on Zoom, things are unpredictable. We had one situation where somebody made a really negative comment to one of the comics, and it was a very tense moment. She handled it brilliantly. She just said, "Mom, are you there?"
Right.
Yeah.
I was there.
Yeah, critical comments. Critical comments happen, but for the most part, the audiences were great and the comics were great. Even with having to juggle people's wants and needs, it was really a pleasure. There were a lot of different personalities, but we made it work.
That last part for you though, Lindsey, and then Yolanda, we're flying in. It puts a lot of tech responsibility in your hands. I mean, both of you, and especially you, Yolanda, such a long-standing career in film and television. Those are the parts that the performer and even an on-set producer doesn't have to think about. Lindsey, just give us a little bit about, like, was there an extra layer of anxiety because of tech? Worried about Zoom, like just tech at all?
Well, we had a wonderful guy, Tom Mayer, who helped us with a lot of the tech. He wasn't available at one point, though, and we also had a bit of a learning curve. So there were times where we had to juggle and we had to mute people and figure out what was going on very quickly so it didn't disturb the flow of the show, especially since, with the comedy, you don't want to break people's rhythms. So yeah, there was a constant tension.
I got it.
You could hear the Jaws theme in the water, and somebody's going to pipe up and say something, or just leave their mic on when they have an argument with their husband or whatever.
Right. Now, on the other hand, Yolanda, I'm sure at such a large level or high level with such a large audience, like you guys don't have that challenge. You don't have an audience in the Zoom the way that we do kind of on these underground shows. But were there any other layers to the tech and that side of production that made this as a already live production any more intense than it already was?
Well, we dealt with a guy, gentleman by the name of Brian at Zoom, which is amazing. And I think that what we did is we had to stumble through with our stand-ins prior to our actors. So I think that really helped iron out a lot of things with our directors, so that because we only, literally we only use the actual actors for 4 hours, 2 hours for rehearsal, and then an hour before they came in, to do a run through, and then we go an hour live. So we like doing a full script, and 9 times out of 10, if they're working, they probably didn't even see the script until we put it on the teleprompter that day when they went live. So, or when we did the rehearsal. So it was, it could have been some challenging moments, and I had to really jump in on the fact, since it, was remote, that some of these actors were in New York, and I'm in New York. So I got a whole, shooting kit now.
You have a what kit? Say that again.
I have my own shooting kit now.
Oh, so that, which is my next question. Like, you just said teleprompter. So I'm like, did you have to go to people's homes and like help them with that? Or did they have?
They had a laptop, a LED circle light, and a mic. They were good to go. And a green screen.
And a green screen.
Because Zoom dropped in all of the backdrop, backdrop to it. So, and they controlled all that. So it was easy for them to be able to do that end of it. It was just getting it to the people, because people started doing a lot of moving around. And, on Friday I was told they were going to be in LA, but then on Saturday I'm told they're going to be, in Atlanta. So then boom, Saturday I'm going to buy equipment to make sure that I have it, on a plane Monday to be there live for Tuesday.
Wow. Wow. Let me ask you this, Yolanda, because you were saying that one of the things you mentioned was that when Regina came to you, things were kind of set. Had all the selections for not only the shows, but the episodes of shows? Do you know what went into the choosing of the particular episodes that were chosen?
Ryan Bethea and Ryan Michelle Bethea and Tessa Thompson were in charge of programming, so they chose the actual shows and the scripts. Normally, when you do like a show, like a series, kind of like that, in the real world, we get the outlines in advance, so we know what we're casting. So, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna, I jumped on. I'm going to have this done by the end of September, and then realizing that there's clearances that have to come into play and certain things, because you are doing it live, and you aren't doing it, and it's a one-off, so you don't have to go through so much red tape to be able to get the rights to use the script and their likeness. Like how we were able to change the names, the faces, and do the little how they did the little flashes of who's what the original and then the new. So those things all came into play. So it was like a trial and error, a kind of situation, and it is a learning curve, because it was great to know that now you want to have all of these things in place before you like jump in.
Wow. I gotta say this, and I definitely want to kind of go back in both of your careers to what you think most prepared you for this day. But I have to confession session, and this is definitely for our folks here. And if there's anybody, you guys, amongst the commenters, please, you guys, for the folks in the audience, if you guys have questions for Lindsey or Yolanda, please feel free to ask them, because we are, these ladies have done some amazing things. And if you guys have questions for them, we want you to ask. Stefan, of course, anybody who knows me personally, I'm a talker. But like, I personally, and I know this is going to sound like sacrilege, I never watched Friends. When Friends was on TV, it came during the years of my very much like in protest of anything that has no representation of African Americans. And it came at a time, even when they brought on Aisha Tyler, with all love and respect, it was, for me, it was too little too late. Like, you've built a house that you basically are doing this add-on, kind of a plywood add-on to, and that's no disrespect to Aisha, who I love, who I respect as an actress and a comedian, and and a host, and all the things that she does. But you guys, with the work that you guys did and the casting that you guys did, gave me an episode that I enjoyed and that I could follow as someone who cared, so little. And here's the thing, and I respect all the actors who were on Friends. I love Jennifer Aniston, I love Lisa Kudrow, but just that framework was, who I was at that time, that was problematic for me. Exactly. But I want to give you just shouts out. I'm sorry, say that again. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
That was TV at that time. So absolutely, a lot of the African American audience felt that way. We weren't, wasn't gravitated towards watching that show. I actually watched the show.
Right.
So, I mean, I was very familiar with it. And with choosing the episodes that we chose like the most popular episode for each show, like series that we chose.
Wow.
So that was the grabbing on that, and that was the most popular episode.
But I see why. Like, I obviously, as never having watched it, it was just such a great, clear episode. And to me, Sterling Brown is inimitable. Let's just, I just have to put it out there. Like, he's amazing. But like they worked that, like they worked that. So my hats go off.
I'm so glad that people received it, because we weren't trying to recreate or try to reboot Friends. We paid homage to this is paying homage to every show, letting people know that not only were we having our Martins and our Girlfriends and all of our shows, there was a time that this is the only audience that we were able to, and people did watch it. And
right.
They were able to, and we can, and we were kind of saying that this is what we can do. We can do the same thing.
Wow.
So it doesn't have to be like how Friends was based. It was an all, pretty much an all white cast, and pretty much not very many Black guest stars.
Right.
So it was kind of like for paying homage, but this is like we could do it too.
We could, and it rocked.
And
it rocked.
And it was like, and actually the writer of that episode loved that we paid homage.
Nice. That's cool.
Hit us the next day and was like, thank you, and it was great. The actors and the actors, everybody loved it.
Wow. I want to find out a little bit more about maybe what else is next. But to you, Lindsey, so you were putting on, so since your show had a different type of structure, like what went into you choosing the comedians that you chose from week to week? Because one of the things that you always stress every time we came on, that nothing was ever vulgar, but there was freedom of speech. So how did you select comedians that were, because you had always, for anybody that maybe didn't get to watch our shows, I don't know if we can figure out, maybe, I don't know if we can figure out a way to set up our archives. We have to figure that out, because we always had, I just want to say this as a shout out to Lindsey, we had such a diverse show. We always had African Americans, we had South Asian, we had Latino, and this is in our performers, we had LGBTQ plus. What went into the composition of choosing artists for each show, Lindsey?
Well, I am really proud of our diversity, and it actually just stemmed out of my seeing so many people that the people who struck me as the most interesting had different stories. So there was no intentional move towards diversity. It just happened naturally out of, I don't want to say a meritocracy, because like comedy is so subjective, but in terms of the stories that I wanted to hear and the things that were making me laugh, came from a diversity of spaces. So I went to everything that I could. I went to lots of open mics. I went to lots of shows. I asked people. I asked friends of friends. I posted. I did everything I could to just see lots and lots of comedians, and the same with musicians. Musicians were actually harder to find. Comedians, I found everybody wanted to jump in. It was very easy to get comedians. It was, I don't want to, it's not as dramatic as heartbreaking, but it was kind of sad that we had to limit. Like there were so many more people that I wanted to include as well. And I hated saying no to people. But there was just such a wealth of talent. And I feel like we really lucked out in terms of who was excited about the project too. Oh, and we found people off of Instagram, and we found people off of recommendations, and it was a wide net.
Let me ask you this, Lindsey, before I go back to Yolanda. What do you think, like, since none of us can predict the future, and Yolanda, I want definitely your input here. I'm starting with you, Lindsey. Like, clearly on the media side, regular television production, they've done everything. So they're back in business. Like, I don't think any of our shows are delayed. I think everything may have been delayed by time, but I think just about everybody that I'm aware of, at least the things that I like, they're all back. But what do you think will be the place, Lindsey, for Zoom and streaming live comedy like this, or these types of shows beyond COVID? So when we're able to go back to going into comedy clubs, do you think that there's something we'll be able to take with us that Zoom has taught us?
Oh, yeah. I think that's a really good insight. I think during this time, we've been given the gift of Zoom comedy, which has obvious problems. I mean, the biggest problem being that you don't have that live audience energy to play off of, and that connection that you can build. But there is something that can be very polished but playful about Zoom. It's not, the crowd work is very different, but it's still possible to have crowd work. So I think after, once we get back to before times, we have after times, and COVID is done, I think that there still will be a place for Zoom, because the other thing is that it has made geography irrelevant. We have, in one show, you can have people from Japan. In fact, we did. We had Japan and DC and New York and all over California and, Texas, and like all in one show. And you can't do that when something's live. It's inherently local. And I think it opens you to different perspectives and to different stories when you can get that international and cross-national perspective as well.
Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate Canner. Thank you, Kate R. Canner. She says, good question. So Yolanda, to you, like your blessing is like super mixed because again, you know, we named some of your talent, I mean, some of your credits, and I'm sure that IMDb is on the short end of what you have provided, just from what I know personally. But in your business where you are, regular production is coming back. So that means that as a casting director, you're still you're back to a good bit of before times business. But after having worked on this project, where do you see the place of Zoom entertainment at these higher levels with higher, with higher level stars? Because you worked with these great folks. Do you see it as having a place?
Oh, I absolutely do. I absolutely see it having a place because it's a safe haven now for those that will feel, that they might want to do projects. And I think that Zoom saw how much of a response that it got. So that, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because technically Zoom is kind of technically, it's like a channel. The way they run everything is like a channel. So I see them definitely, capitalizing and definitely taking it further, a step further with doing it because of the graphics and the things you can drop in and the green screens and all of that. They just have so much to be able to do. Yeah, it's definitely got a place. Absolutely.
I want to shift, starting with you, Yolanda, a little bit to kind of given the breadth of your own career, and we talked about it again before, a little bit before the show started. What do you think in your own career as a casting person and even as a production person, because I know that you did some production, like prepared you for this moment? Is there anything in particular that you say, hey, I'm so glad that these are the skills that I have? Anything in particular over your years that prepared you for a moment like this?
I would have to say that I kept really great relationships with people that I was able to pick up the phone and call them. And I've been very consistent over my 25 plus years in casting that having a good relationship and not burning bridges, and you might not have to pick up the phone every day, but as long as you are consistent and you're thoughtful and you think about these people and in your work process, because I am I am someone that that employs them, then it was kind of like an easy shift for me to be able to do it. And I think that was why it was okay. I think that's when Regina was just like, boom, you can do this because if you can pick up the phone, if you can't, I will. So it was kind of one of those great kind of like it led me up to that, definitely. And having to be like, I can call Anthony Anderson, like, I need you to do this. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, I got you. So that's having those great relationships and never weighing from who I was and and the respect that I have, it definitely led me up to this moment.
Wow. And I have one more question for you, but I want to jump to Lindsey because before we get out of here, and you both ladies, you both have the opportunity to stay with us a little longer on the broadcast because we've got some segments. However, I know what time it is where you are, Yolanda. So I want to ask Yolanda, I want to ask Lindsey something, but I want to talk a little bit about, for maybe 30 seconds or more, One Night in Miami. What I think is, I'm sorry, I get a little teary, but I want to talk about that before we let you go. Lindsey, what do you think? Because you're an actress and you're a comic, and I met you as a comic, and I'm just for me as a comic, I'm learning so much from you. Tell us, what do you think are the things that your career up to this point prepared you? Because you talked about working with the International Film Festival. What are the things that you think prepared you for working with this Zoom show and its success? Because just for the record, you guys, we didn't talk about it, but we raised money, and we definitely we got up to large audiences for our scale. So we're very proud of all of those things. But tell us what you think in your career prepared you for this work.
Yeah, I think running a film festival really had a lot of the same patterns of doing things, of dealing with people, of making things happen. But I've always loved running projects. I mean, when I was 12 years old, I kind of gathered my friends together and had us start a little newspaper. Like I've always, if I don't have a project, then I feel like something is missing in my life. So in a way, the project let me do it. Like it was an opportunity for me to do something that I would be doing in some form anyway. If I wasn't doing something for the film festival, then I might be just producing comedy shows. It was something that I was actually kind of leaning towards as a comic. So I kind of had it spinning around when this opportunity came up. And yeah, it was amazing to find such a willing and dedicated group of performers and a team. I think pulling it together under the Biden-Harris umbrella really, it was a wave of hope. You know, it really, I think, was an opportunity for uplift for all of us. And it was amazing to be able to community build.
To community build. Amen. Amen. Amen.
I like the way you said that. Community build. Absolutely.
Amen. So Yolanda, before we let you get out of here, tell us what's happening, like the latest for you that we can promote and tell people about and say, this is her work, go see it.
Well, my latest, as you guys know, is coming out January 15th on Amazon. One Night in Miami. I am really super, super duper excited about working on this project with Kim. I worked with Kim Harden and Kristen Bustamante, and it was the best experience because I did a worldwide search on this. Like I mean, literally Australia, London, like I went everywhere for this project, and to see this come out, and you guys have to realize that this was a play that Keith Powers did, and for it to be set up the way she shot it, Regina shot this, you get the same feel of it. I just can't wait for you guys to see it. I'm just so happy to be a part of the project. I can't wait till it comes out because everyone will see what all of those hard, long months was worth. And I'm still teaching my acting classes. I started it back up this week. So I do Zoom acting classes. So it's great because now I have everyone from Washington to Texas to Florida. So I'm not just in New York doing that. And there are some things coming on the horizon in the new year. You're not going to jinx it. So
got it. No, we respect that. So let me just say this.
With all of these other directors like Kristen Swanson and Sanaa Lathan and Gina Prince Bythewood, it reignited the great relationships. So I really looking forward to 2021.
And you guys, just so that everybody knows, she was naming the directors of the different episodes because I feel like we 30 minutes, but man, we have to have you both back. But I just want to say this, you guys, Yolanda is the real deal. Like Lindsey, Yolanda, they're talking about Oscar. I'm gonna cry. I'm sorry. They're talking about Oscars for these cats in this film. They're talking about like how they're gonna campaign. So it is, and all I keep thinking, and I'm trying to stay business, is my friend Yolanda, is part of that, and it's just very exciting because if you don't know who Leslie Odom is, I'm like but all the cats,
like Hamilton, and working with. I'm just these guys, the best ensemble. And Eli, you guys are going to be so taken back by his performance. These people embodied these people. I mean, these are real people. So it's not like it's somebody you're being made up. These people that are legacies and
right,
and it's really. It's gonna be
and let's give everybody the premise in case there's anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about. So let's go back for a second. And I know our time is up with you, Yolanda and Lindsey. I'm coming back. We got one more question for you. So a couple of things given the time. So that people know, the backdrop is this. There is a great play. Let me start with this play first. There's a great play called The Meeting. And The Meeting is a play that is very huge in the African American theater community. And it chronicles a fictionalized meeting. What would it have been like if Martin Luther King and Malcolm X had actually met and spent time together? What people don't know is that Malcolm was actually younger than Martin, but Malcolm was killed before Martin, younger than Martin, and they met in an airport. The one iconic photo that we ever see of them together is that they were crossing paths in an airport. But this incredible theater piece was written, I want to say 60s, maybe 70s, but maybe 60s, that chronicles them, talking through their views, and it's been something that's again part of African American theater canon, where you see it tour, where you see it in a lot of local Black theater houses. Now let's go to One Night in Miami. One Night in Miami chronicles real live people who actually met and spent this one night together in this hotel, where you had Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, who had won a championship fight, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown, who were four men at the time, really at the height of in their own lanes of what they were doing. And so this is there will not be a way, obviously, for us to know the details of those conversations. However, because the FBI was following Malcolm X at the time, and not Martin Luther King, and Muhammad Ali, and had them tapped, we know that it happened. So we're talking about Regina King having the opportunity. And tell me the playwright's name. I don't want to leave him out. What's his name?
Powers.
We're talking about Keith Powers saying that we want to explore this space and bring to life this historical moment. And then Regina King having the opportunity to get a hold of the script and be the director, and then bring it to larger audiences outside of Florida. Because if I'm not mistaken, Keith is based, isn't he based in, where is he based?
He's actually based on the East Coast.
Right.
But it was a long standing that the play was in London.
Okay.
For years, long standing. So, it's been around for a very, very long time. And, for this to be her directorial debut.
Right.
And to have this and to have all of this Oscar buzz behind it, it's just, it's just a great ride to be a part of.
Right. So we just want to big up to you, Yolanda. We want to just congratulate you, because you have, again, you're saying you have a 25-year career. You look 27. You look 30. Like, you know what I'm saying? You look.
I'll be 50 this year, so we got to,
Right. The turn up is real.
The turn up is real.
You're looking good, sis. And so I just want to shout you out in that way, you guys. So One Night in Miami coming to Amazon in January, but they are going to get it in a couple of theaters before the year.
They're going to do a couple of theaters, but it is going to come out via Amazon.
Right. And everybody that I know that has on the other side of the business, the agenting men that have seen screenings, they're all raving about it. So we are
nothing but great things.
Right.
Coming back from it. Yeah. You guys had a screening, a drive-through screening a couple of weeks ago in LA.
Right.
At the Grove, and it was, people were calling me from it like, it's so good, I can't wait. I was like, I'm so glad you guys get the screening and you guys are going to support it. So absolutely.
Amen. With that, Yolanda, we know it's midnight where you are. We are so grateful to have had you. Lindsey, hold on, we've got another question for you. So Yolanda, we understand you got to go to bed and you got to go to work tomorrow.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and I would be loved to come back.
You will.
All right, pleasure meeting you, Lindsey. We need to talk.
Yeah, love that.
Absolutely. Enjoy, you guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Yolanda. All right. So, Lindsey, and again, this is our last question for you. And then if you want to stay with us, we do a lot of fun stuff. We've got our other co-hosts in the house, one out, one in. We've got Dan back in it. So everybody was asking, Natalie. Man, Natalie, I meant to, and I didn't, and I had it in my head. So you guys, my dear friend, my child's godmother, and I got to shout Natalie out, because when we worked with Yolanda, we were all in the same building. And so I meant to let Yolanda know Natalie was here, and I forgot. And Natalie, my heart, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. To you, Lindsey, last question. And again, if you want to stay, we want you to stay. Like, what's next? Where do we see you? Where do we look forward to seeing your face next? And tell us what's on the horizon, and tell us what big Zoom plans, what are you cooking up?
Yeah. I'm just sort of taking a beat and reinflating, but I'm working with the Senate races in Georgia. I'll be text banking and doing the postcards and all that sort of stuff for them. That's really kicking off. And then I have several comedy shows coming up, and people can reach me at Loon Laughs. That's my handle on everything, Loon Laughs, and it's loonlaughs@gmail.com if anybody wants to get on a list to see, what's going on. But a few comedy shows and hoping to change this country for the good.
Amen. What's okay? You're saying a few comedy shows, but tell us at least one where they can tune in. Anything coming up this weekend or next week?
There's not.
Okay.
It's a private client. It's a private software company. So I
got it. Okay. Nothing. Okay. So, no worries. I just, there's so many great, and you guys are starting kind of a great series that we're going to keep doing on here, which is just bringing on great content producers in the time of COVID, because we just have so many that are doing so many great things. And, you know, from the scale of what Yolanda and that team did to what you are doing, and to what, you know, some of the great names that we'll mention that folks may not know, but Keisha Norton and Trish Sullivan and Mayor Chauhan, so many great folks that maybe you guys have never heard of, but they're keeping, and Ann Lucero, Anna the Russian down in Miami. The list goes on of folks that are doing comedy content in the time of COVID. And so we're just very proud to have you, and to know that we did it. You know, that's, I feel like that's the only thing I didn't get to say, that we can say that we did it, that we had, my dad always says it, we put footprints on the moon with this. You know what I'm saying? We put, I mean, my dad didn't make that quote, but my dad always says I had some footprints there. But that's what we're talking about, being able to say that in this historic win, the work of Lindsey Loon, the work of Yolanda Hunt, and Regina, you know, all these folks.
Dana Keel, yeah.
Thank you. We had something to do with that, you know.
Yeah.
And so good stuff. Well, we definitely look forward to
I also find it extremely fascinating to meet a comedian who is volunteering to do administrative work. That's awesome.
Outreach, you gotta, it has to be done. So yeah.
So
one thing is that we will be picking up the series again, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it before the races end as a promotion for the races and a fundraiser and a community building thing, or if we're just going to do it afterwards as a private, I mean, as a public thing, but non-partisan, just comedy and music. But it will be happening. If anybody's interested in the shows, please contact me. They will be happening. I'm just not sure when.
Right. And I'm with you, and you guys, if you know, we're always, you know, if there are people out here that are listening, and you know, and you know, you can let us know what you've either hosted or maybe show run on Zoom. We want to stack a good deck for producing whatever is left. So we'd love to hear from you. You guys, my handle is there, but Lindsey Loon, Loon Laughs everywhere. And with that, just congratulations, Lindsey.